How you doing, everybody? Hope you're doing good. Week's almost over for most of you. Friday, good thing. I always liked Fridays. Payday plus I had the weekend. Always did fun things on the weekend. So glad you made it. Another week. Tonight I've talked about it a couple times in the past. You watched some of my shorter videos. This one's going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to tell more of the same story, but all in one time. As you can see, I wear oxygen tube. I wear oxygen tube because I have lung disease. Um, Before I get in it too depth, I want to show everybody my shirt. Thank you, Hodge Twins. Appreciate it. So anyway, I wear this oxygen tube because I've got lung disease, and the lung disease came from Lyme disease, and so I can't say came from it. The Lyme disease really made the lung disease, kind of happen or expose itself. And I got Lyme disease from a tick bite. I got down here on my belly. Happened to find it when I was taking a shower, and I just had ticks many times before in the past. Spent some time in the woods, so I reached down and I picked it off. I threw it in the toilet, gave it a flush. Well, about a day later, man, I got a headache. Like I'd gotten headaches before, but this was a different type of headache, and I had it for 9 days. That's right, a 9 day headache. It didn't go away. It didn't get stronger. It didn't get worse. It was just a headache for 9 days. And literally by the end, on the ninth day, I was about in tears, and I was just like ready to give up because no matter what happened, I had this headache. No matter what I did, I had this headache. I'd go to sleep with the headache. I'd wake up with the headache if I could sleep. So I went to my doctor, and I'd seen this doctor for about a decade, about 10 years, and I really liked her. We got along well. And like with most of my doctor's appointments, my better half, my boss, she goes with me. She hears him say things that I just don't hear. So like that time, she went along with me. Plus, I was having a hard time driving and just concentrating in general. And I explained to my doctor, just a normal, you know, common doctor, like family doctor. And I'd explained to her what had happened. And she was concerned about the headache, rightfully so. I was concerned about it. Um, and I got to 9 days because I couldn't get into the doctor. But then, I think it took like 3 or 4 days to get into the doctor. My only option um, was to go to the hospital, and they really don't do much for you at the hospital nowadays, and rightfully so. Nowadays, people are just trying to get pain meds or get a fix of some kind, so they really don't do much for you. So I waited it out, and I had a job. I had to go to work, and I worked with this terrible headache. And anyway, so I explained to her, what was happening, and she gave me 2 shots right in the hind end, and I had to sit there in the doctor's office for I think it was about an hour, um, and I think I kind of went to sleep a little bit. Even it relaxed me enough, and the headache kind of went away, and I felt pretty good, but she wouldn't let me leave, and throughout this, um, my girlfriend, who's my boss for sure, um, she asked the doctor if I could be tested for Lyme disease because all the research that she had done, and this is true, I was there. The research that she had done, everything pointed towards Lyme disease. Now, I'd heard of it before, but like I didn't, I wasn't concerned. I mean, I was a 50-year-old, somewhat healthy. I smoked cigarettes, and but I'd always, been active and did things. So I was like, Lyme disease, I wasn't concerned about it. So because the con, I guess I would say the concern of my better half, um, my doctor sent us to the hospital to get a blood test to be tested for Lyme disease. So I did. In the meantime, I think she gave me she She gave me 5 days, 5 days of an antibiotic called doxycycline, and she said that she agreed that I had a lot of symptoms for Lyme, and so she was going to go ahead and treat me for it, no matter what the test said. And so I was glad about that because I'd rather be safe than sorry. So, like I said, she gave me 5 days of doxycycline, and I took them. It was a pretty heavy dose, but I did it. And something else that happened is around the area of my stomach where I got bit by the tick, I started getting these like round, they call them bullseyes. And I had a couple of them, and it was concerning. They were bright red, and I had never gotten anything like that before. And so I got the shots. I'm taking doxycycline, and I think one of the things that got me the worst was the fatigue afterwards. Like the fatigue was terrible. Like it was just terrible. The fatigue. I don't even know how to describe it. Anybody that's dealt with it like that, they understand what I'm saying. Um, it's not that I was tired. It was beyond tired, but not beyond tired in the same sense as you're tired. I felt heavy. Like I just felt like I had this heavy suit on, and I wasn't tired. I got some sleep, but it was just tough. It was fatigue, and had a pretty high paced job. So I dealt with it for a couple of months, and in the process, I was in contact with my doctor, and I said, I don't think this is enough. I don't think it's happening. So I got referred to another doctor, and the other doctor had the audacity to tell me, um, if Lyme disease is a thing, I don't have it. And kind of got upset about that because, like, I took a blood test, and the test came up positive. So I said to him, "How can you say that when I have a positive test?" And he kind of chuckled, and he said, "Yeah, those tests aren't very reliable." So the test, the test gave him a result he wasn't happy with, so he just said it didn't work. But to humor me, he sent me to a whole barrage of these doctors. There was an infectious disease doctor. There was a rheumatologist. There was a cardiologist. I think altogether I had 5 or 6 doctors, and I was seeing them all at the same time. Like one day I'd go see one, the next day I'd go see the other. 3 days later I'd go see another. And with the exception of the cardiologist, I think they were all just jokers. Like, yeah, like I don't even know how to describe it and be respectful. They were just like, the infectious disease doctor. Um, he seen me for about 2 minutes. He assured me I didn't have Lyme disease and sent me on my way. And that's no joke. It wasn't like a physical or anything. He just said I didn't have it, and that was good enough. He had the degree on the wall behind him, so I wasn't supposed to argue with that. The cardiologist, they did a whole barrage of things like for my heart, and he was the most decent guy. Like he listened to what I had to say, and whether he faked it or not, he had concern, which was that was nice and kind of uplifting because of what I'd been dealing with. Um, so I went to a rheumatologist also because I had I've always worked with my hands, so arthritis probably is a thing, but it was my knees and my feet, and so I got an appointment with this rheumatologist, and I went and seen him, and nice guy, young guy, kind of chipper, um, and I always notice for whatever reason, especially doctors, I noticed the shoes they wear, and he had nice shoes on, and so I went in, and he was carrying a tablet with him, and he was looking at everything, and he said, so tell me your story. So I basically sat down and told him pretty much what I just said to you. When I got to the part where I told him my doctor gave me 5 days of doxycycline, he said, "Man, that's not enough. Not enough for Lyme disease. You need more than 5 days of doxycycline works um, in a lot of cases, but you need more than 5 days." And I was like, thank the Lord, somebody's finally listening to me. And I continued with my story. And he was going through on his tablet, or a laptop. I don't remember which, but he was going through and he was messing with things and he was reading stuff while I'm telling the story, and he'd write some stuff in, and I got all finished, and he listened to what I had to say, and one of the first things he said, first he said, I want to recap this with you so that we get the story, so that I understand the story right. And I said, okay. And he said, well, you was mushroom hunting and you got bit by a tick. I said, yeah, that's true. And he said, you had a headache for 9 days. And I said, yeah, that's true. And he said, you went to see your family doctor and they treated you with 5 days of doxycycline. I said, yeah, that's true. And he said, well, I think she did a good job. And he moved on. And I don't even know what he said after that, because he literally did 180 degrees in what he said 10 minutes prior. So I'm assuming, could be wrong, I'm assuming it's something that he read my charts, the notes from the other doctors. And it was noticeable enough to me when he left the room. I looked at my boss and I said, did that just happen? Did that really just happen the way that it seemed to me? And she agreed that it did. So I've not been back to see that guy. So to move forward from that, I was really having a hard time with all these doctors I was seeing, because they weren't giving me really what I needed, I felt. And I also started seeing a pulmonologist. That's another chapter to the story that we'll get to. So I guess we'd go into that chapter right now. So I started seeing this pulmonologist, and he was an old guy. He was probably like 80 years old. He wore New Balance running tennis shoes while he was at work. He's one of them guys. And he put me through a lot of tests as far as blood work is concerned, and I had a pulmonary function test, and if anybody knows what that is, those are just awful. The technicians are like coaches, and they make you breathe in and breathe out, and you're in this little enclosed, like, clear plastic telephone booth, or something like that, whatever it is. It's a booth to regulate pressure. But this guy, first off, and not necessarily in this order because I'm telling the story from a couple years ago, he was writing stuff down that just wasn't true. 100% not true. And it was like he was building his own narrative. And he put me on medication. Not going to mention what it was. I don't even think I remember what it was. I could find it pretty quick. But it was like $8,000 or $10,000 a month for this prescription. It took 3 doses a day, every 8 hours, and it made me feel awful. Made me feel terrible. I sat in my chair. I was already bummed out because now I'm attached to this thing, and I didn't like it. And I think I took it for 2 months, basically like an anti-fibrotic. And so I went back to see this guy, and I think it was something crazy. It was like 6 months. His appointments were like 6 months apart. So I don't feel like they were concerned really about my health. And I went back and seen him, and in the process of that 6 months, the church I go to is a relatively small church, and great people. And we met this woman that suggested I go see this holistic doctor. She's a nurse. She's an LPN, but she does a lot of natural things, and you take supplements, and they don't just pump you full of chemicals. So I'm kind of getting off on a little sidetrack here, but I'll bring it back and tie it back together. So I started seeing her, and one of the first things that she did was she did her best to get my diet straightened out. I eat McDonald's, I eat Taco Bell, I eat all that stuff. Not now, but she made me cut all that stuff out. And I'm not gonna lie. Um, I've quit cigarettes, I've quit smoking weed, I've quit all kinds of stuff. I can get off of caffeine, not a problem. White sugar, man, I can't kick it. I just cannot kick white sugar. Still currently to this day, it's a battle I fight. White sugar is my enemy, and I eat it every day. So anyway, with this doctor, um, her name's Tammy. She straightened me out, man. She straightened me out. I think I was taking 25 pills a day that were, most of them was not medication, most of it was supplements. It got really expensive. It was expensive to see her because that's one of the huge things is I had good medical insurance, but they wouldn't pay for none of that. None of it. They weren't interested in paying none of it. They would pay for me to have a double lung transplant, which is what this pulmonologist was pushing for from day one. He told me, you're on the road for a double lung transplant. We need to get you signed up for the program. It's another chapter, and we'll get to that. So throughout the course of the 6 months, um, I cleaned up my diet. Wasn't 100%, but I was definitely 90, 95% good on my diet. Um, I started taking these supplements, and I quit the drugs that were making me sick. Quit them altogether. Just stopped taking them. Um, put my faith in God, and said, if the drugs aren't going to help me, then I'm going to go. I'm going to go the way I want to go, and that's not some wadded up shell of a man in my chair. And I literally had these thoughts. I made these decisions, and had plenty of support. And so back to this pulmonologist. That's what I'd done in the 6 months between his visits. And another thing, that before I went and seen him, it was actually the same day. I had another pulmonary function test where they put you in the booth and make you breathe and blow in the hose. And when I did that test, the technician was looking at my prior results and looking at these, and he's like, "Man, Eric, you're doing a great job. Like, these results are way better." Um, Keep in mind, I quit smoking. Once I quit smoking cigarettes, I was done. I haven't smoked. I haven't even taken a puff off of one since the day I quit. Um, so I was expecting. I was feeling pretty good. I was expecting a pretty good test, and the technician, he confirmed it. So I went in the waiting room and I waited a little bit, and the doctor called me back, and I went back, and he come bouncing in with his New Balance shoes on, and he's looking at the results, and he's like, "Wow," he said, "Eric, I have absolutely no explanation for the improvement in your function test. I have no idea. I have no idea what happened. Like, you went from here and now you're like here. Like, there's a huge difference. It's not just a little bit. Like, you've made quite a difference." And I was proud of that. And he he asked me why I thought that was, and I said, "Well, I'm living right now. I'm eating better. I've quit smoking." And he said, "Well, how's the medication working out?" I shook my head and I said, "Man, it's not working out. It's not working out so much that I quit taking it. I won't take it." And he asked why not, and I said, "Well, it makes me sick, and I get tired, and if I'm not sleeping, I'm feeling sick, and then look at the clock, and it's time to take the medication again, and I just sick of it, man. I'm not going to do it." And he's like, "No, that's too bad. So here, try these." So he gave me another medication, $13,000 a month. I looked at the bills. I didn't get it from a pharmacy. The manufacturer sent it right to me. My insurance company paid $13,000 a month for medication. And it came in a bag. I'll never forget. It came in a plastic bag. Remind you of a biohazard bag. It's real thick plastic. Had a red label on it, and it said "dangerous medication." And I looked at. I know I keep referring to her as my boss, but I don't want to mention any names. And I looked at her and said, "I'm not taking this stuff." She said, "I don't blame you." And I've never even touched it again. I've never even looked at it. I don't even know where it's at. I don't know if it's still here or not. And I was always bent and stuck on this guy, like making stuff up and putting it in my nose, because once a doctor does that, You can't just go in there and say that's not true. That's like that's like the law. So when other doctors see that, say, well, Doctor So and So said that, so that must be true. And they won't debate one another. They just start piling stuff on, and the next thing you know, your ailment's over here, and they've got you like way over here. And because they got that degree on the wall, nobody argues with them. Well, I don't necessarily argue with them. I just won't go back, and I haven't been back to see that guy. I won't go back to see that guy. I sense, and here's a little road on the double transplant. Um, that started in the very beginning. I did a sleep test, and I wore a monitor overnight, and I turned it in, everything. I came to see my family doctor. She's one that ordered the test, and I asked her, like with a little comedy or whatever. I said, "So what'd you find out? What'd you find out on that test?" And she looked at me serious, and she said, "I found out you're going to be on oxygen now." And that was like a punch in the gut, you know. Um, Come to find out, it's worse than I thought it was then. Being attached to this hose and losing your breath, and like I always thought it'd suck to lose a thumb or one of your digits or something, which it would be. It'd be terrible to lose that. But losing your breath is like, I don't even know. There's no alternative. The alternative is this right here. So anyway, with the double lung transplant, from that point on, every time I talked to a doctor, they would mention that, and I know because they put it in their little machine, their little computer, and so they all just started parroting, what one was saying to the other. And when I first seen the pulmonologist, he said we need to get you signed up for a program, get you in there and get you some new lungs, and that scared me to death. I've been scared a few times in my life. Nothing like that. Scared me to death. And then I made the biggest mistake ever. And I came home, and one evening I was sitting there and I watched a video of how they do that. And that was the worst thing to do in the world because I don't know. You'd have to dope me up pretty good to go through that. But I found out, we all say that doctors can't be, they can't take kickbacks. It's illegal for them to take kickbacks, but they find these little loopholes to, they can get through and they can still do what they need to do. And I found out this doctor was invested into a clinic. That was something else. Is I have family in Phoenix, and I thought, man, one of the best lung hospitals in the world is in Phoenix. I've got a little bit of support there. That'd be, you know, that'd be an option. Definitely have to sort it out with them, but I mean, that'd be an option. And I mentioned that to him, and he said, no, that's not an option. Either Indianapolis or Cleveland. That's the choice you got. And I got to thinking, like, who's he to tell me how I'm going to be treated and where? I care more about me than he does. And then I found out that these doctors can invest into these clinics. And, I'm a 50-year-old, fairly healthy guy with the exception of my lungs. Success would be pretty great. And he would want to push that where he's invested. So I always make the joke like he was already eyeballing a new boat when I walked in. The fact that I told him I wasn't ready emotionally um, kind of made him mad. He slammed his hands down on the table. He told me, he said, Eric, I can't make you do it. And I said, no, sir, you can't. I realized that that's a huge step. And once you light that fuse, you can't put it out. You can't get halfway through that and decide, no, I need to wait. They'll kick you out of line and they'll put somebody else in there that wants it and wants it right now. And I can respect that. That just wasn't me. And with the experience I've had like that, um, So I kind of went from Lyme disease to lung disease. And the Lyme disease just kind of like, everybody's got, and this is how it's explained to me, everybody's got a bucket and you can put all these ailments in this bucket, but once it overflows is where it really starts slowing you down in life. And like I said, I smoked for 30 years. I did I did plenty of damage to my lungs. I did auto painting for quite a few years. I welded. I mean, I wasn't breathing clean country fresh air my whole life, and I accept that. When that little bitty tick bit me, filled my bucket up and dumped it over the side, and that's what's led me down to this road here. And um, you see, so I've gotten through them doctors, and I since long story, but like people, I'm sure y'all understand how insurance works. Insurance, I made too much money from Medicaid once I got on Social Security, so then I had to get my own insurance. I was out of network, the doctors I was seeing, so I had to find new doctors. So ultimately, that's what I did. Is I found a new doctor. I found a pulmonologist, and I've seen him a couple of times. I like the guy. I think he's doing a good job. I'll continue to see him. Um, the last time I seen him, he gave me some pretty good news. I'm not going to share that now. I'll share that in the future if it rings to be true. Um, my holistic doctor, um, I haven't seen her for a while. Like I said, she's pretty expensive. Um, I I decided throughout all this, I started looking at options on what I could do, with the exception of lung transplant. And one of the things, there were three main things that I was looking at. Number one, stem cells. Number two, class 4 cold laser therapy. Number three, enzyme therapy. Those are the three things that can help lung disease. And the doctors in the medical industry tell people that have pulmonary fibrosis, it's all doom and gloom. You have no choice but to get a new set of lungs. And they are working. There is a certain faction of that industry that's working on alternatives. Those are the three they've come up with right now. In the last several months, the stem cells have really come a long way. I've gotten them. I go back next month. I get another dose right there in the arm, and then I breathe them in. And then I have 3 treatments at home periodically that I'm going to take. And um, I'd be dumb to tell you that they were going to heal me, and you'd be dumb to believe me. But they've put me on the road to success, and they've gave me hope. And I think a lot of these doctors rob you of that, or they rob you of hope because they think they know what's going on, and they tell you the doom and gloom part of it, and the hope just kind of fizzles away. And I've had a lot of help. It's expensive. Stem cells are extremely expensive. I have to travel several states away. I've had a whole lot of help. I've had help from my church. I've had help from my family. Had help from my friends. And when I say help, not just emotional help, a lot of financial help. I'm not going to get into the numbers, but it is expensive. But I look at it from my point of view, because I don't have any other alternatives really. I think in the future, if I can figure it out, I might have some cold laser therapy. There's a lot of promise in that. I follow a guy on Facebook that he's had a lot of good luck with cold laser therapy. So that's something that I might do. um, but I guess the moral of the story is you got to love you more than anybody else. You cannot, at least I believe, you can't just you can put the information on your doctors, but it has to make sense to you. And if it don't make sense, make it sense to you. Don't just go into it blindly, because they'll do things and they'll tell things that I've caught them. And I caught them. When I say I caught them, like I'd look at my boss and be like, "Did that really just happen? Is this going on?" And I would get confirmation that it's not just what I was hearing, it's not what I was seeing. It was the whole thing. And you know, I look at the clock here, and it's been almost 30 minutes, and I've been able to carry on for 30 minutes. yeah, I got this. But there was a point in time in my life where after about 10, 15 minutes of talking, I was spent. I was done. So I made some progress, and I'm not out of the woods. I don't know if I'll ever be out of the woods, but I'm a fighter. I'm not going to quit. Can't afford to quit. I've got some things in the future uh, that are, like I said, next month I go back for stem cells. I've got some things in the future that I'm going to start working on a little bit. Um, white sugar, got to get rid of that stuff. Don't know how I'm going to do it, but at least I'm gonna work on it. I'm not gonna give up. Um, but if you've watched so far in this video, I appreciate it. I appreciate you listening to my story. I don't think I've left anything out. I don't script nothing. It's organic. The stories I'm telling you, they're organic. They're from how I recall them. I've got a pad of paper here that I literally haven't written anything down. It has stuff like passwords and junk like that on it. If you watch any of my other videos, you know, because I'm not perfect. They're unscripted. Any of these videos are unscripted, and I just tell the story like I know how to tell it. Uh, but yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's what's going on. That explains this hose. Once again, I want to point out my shirt. A little kitty cat. One of my best buddies is a kitty cat. He's right there on the floor, right there, ornery. I don't think he knows he's a cat. But anyway, anybody has any questions or anybody has any comments that they want to say about my story, they just want to chime in and tell me their story. I'll be glad to listen. I'm good about opinions. I have one. Not shy about it. I rarely say I don't know because I have a thing where I can engage my brain and I can think, and that doesn't mean I'm right, but I always got something to say. And some people think that's a downfall. I don't think so because I can always tell you what my point of view is. But anyway, like I said, thank you for following. Thank you for watching my video. Um, if you haven't, please subscribe. That's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to, I'm not going to send you a bill. I'm not going to send you tax papers at the end of the year or anything like that. Hell, I don't get paid for this. I do this for something to do. 2 years ago, I found myself unemployed. Couldn't work anymore. Uh, that's probably a battle in itself. Working job your whole life, and then all of a sudden you can't work anymore. You got to ride your lazy boy and watch YouTube videos, and that's what I am. Is I'm a professional YouTube video watcher now. That's kind of what's led me down this path right here. Is if I can watch them, surely I can make them. And I got a long way to go. There's no question. I got a long way to go, but with your help, with your support, maybe I'll get there. So anyway, there's my 2 cents. Have a great day. I'll see you later.